The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next in our series of Incite Group webinars. My name is Nick Johnson, and I am the founder of the Incite Group, and I am also your host for today's discussion. And over the next 45 minutes or so, we will be discussing marketing attribution, and specifically how to leverage marketing data to rapidly iterate and evolve campaigns to drive better conversions and better performance. That topic actually forms just one part of the agenda for this year's Incite Marketing Summit East, which is taking place on October the 27th and 28th in New York. The event brings together over 300 in-house marketing executives from across the USA to learn from over 60 senior leaders from companies like Mondelez, Adidas, Citi, Clorox, Toyota, and many more. The conference has got three core themes: marketing attribution, the topic of today's discussion, but also personalization and content and storytelling. Do make sure to download the brochure to find out what we've identified as the critical issues in marketing in 2016 and beyond, and which brands will be sharing insight with you in October. Now, before we get started with today's discussion, a couple of quick notes. First, I want to remind you that we are recording the webinar, and you will all receive a link to the hosted recording over the next few days. And second, myself and the panelists, Rob, Damar, and Justin, are certainly not the only participants in today's conversation. We're looking for you to ask questions throughout, so please do use the question function, which you should see at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So, on to today's panelists. I'm delighted to introduce three fantastic marketers. Rob Waite, Vice President of Marketing at HP, Damar Amaka, CRM Analyst at the San Francisco 49ers, Justin Racine, Director of Marketing and E-Commerce at Geriatric Medical. So welcome to all of you, and thank you all for joining. And before we kick off our discussion, can you briefly introduce yourselves and shed a little bit of light on your roles within your companies? And I'm going to come to you, Rob, first. Just introduce yourself to our listeners.
Thank you, Nick. My name's Rob Waite. I'm the Global VP of Print Marketing at HP, and I run the marketing mix for HP's $20 billion printing business at HP. And we cover, and my comments today will cover everything from the consumer market to our B2B franchise to a capital goods product that we sell into the industrial printing market. Very excited to be here. Back to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Rob. And Damar, over to you.
Yes, Damar Amaker. I do all of the CRM and marketing automation for the San Francisco 49ers, ranging from launching our CRM campaigns from a marketing standpoint to all of our email marketing attribution from a reporting standpoint as well. Anything from direct mail to email marketing to any of our phone-driven sales campaigns all run through me on the marketing automation front.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Damar. And last but most certainly not least, Justin.
Thanks, Nick. My name is Justin Racine, Director of Marketing and E-Commerce at Geriatric Medical. We are a wholesale distributor of medical supplies to the long-term care marketplace, including hospitals, nursing homes, really any B2B business that buys medical or health products. And I oversee all the marketing and e-commerce efforts here at Geriatric.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Justin. And I, for one, am very excited to have such a diverse group of companies and individuals with very different experiences, and I'm very grateful to all three of you for taking the time to get involved. So without further ado, I suppose let's start the discussion. And before we do that, just a reminder, those of you that are listening in, please do use that question function and throw up questions, and we will ask them at the opportune moments throughout the debate. And the first question for our three panelists is about key metrics. So what I would like to know, and Rob, I'm going to come to you first, if you could tell us what are the key metrics that you're currently using to determine the impact of your marketing campaigns, and why are those particular metrics so important to you?
Sure. Well, we live in a world where the average CMO is going to be in their job, the median time they're going to be in their job statistically is 26.5 months. And I think the core difference between the folks who are leaving in the bottom 50% of that and then the folks who are getting to have multi-year careers there is this focus on data-driven marketing. We fundamentally believe that marketing is undergoing a tectonic shift from a world where creativity leads the day to panels like this, and you look at who you've got on the panel today, you have data-driven marketers through and through. The credibility of marketing is at stake. So what we're looking at HP is we look at every stage of campaign development and we attach data to it, from early stage creative testing. So we're using people like Lil Brown, Brain Juice to test our creative to make sure that it's going to break through. We're doing demand mix optimization. So before we go into market, we're looking at what we've historically done and then the response curves that are associated with that. We're also using, once we've done that, we're using lower level response metrics. I'm going to be fascinated to hear about the CRM metrics in demand to make sure that we are hitting benchmark in all of those assets that we're deploying. So we're trying to use a data-driven approach to everything from creative development to planning to in-market execution. And you can see very clearly the folks who have made that shift, their campaigns are performing not slightly better. We're seeing at HP like 30% difference in rates of return on business ROI from the folks who hit every one of the hurdles on their data. So that's kind of how we're using it. We're trying to use it across every step in developing our campaigns, pre and post.
Okay, fantastic, and that seems like there's a very clear incentive for doing so if you see that 30% bump. And I'd be interested, Justin and Damar, to see whether you've got similar approaches. So Damar, I'll come to you first, given Rob highlighted he was interested in your own approach to all of this. So what are the key metrics that you're currently using at the 49ers?
Most of the stuff that we do from a marketing standpoint drives our ticket sales. So what we really like to understand is how all of our different revenue streams are impacted by the marketing we have out in our reach network. So a lot of what we do is regional and really gathering a lot of information about those people that do walk through our gates every game. So from an e-commerce standpoint, understanding our retail customers who's landing on our website from an e-commerce standpoint, as well as who's interested in buying our single game tickets through our Ticketmaster partnership online, as well as those people who are just social media fans going in and liking any of our social content. We're very content driven here with the 49ers, having a very unique product and unique experience to offer our fans. Something we really drive to surround our marketing efforts with, providing that exclusive content and really driving page views, landing page visits, and click-through rates for all of our emails, and then ultimately attributing that back to our fan base. And really, I think that comes back to the whole personalization topic more than the attribution one, but really understanding how to target our fans and how to make sure that the right messaging goes to the family-driven fan as opposed to the specifically executive fan or specifically the 25 to 30 millennial fan that we have a lot of here in the Bay Area. So a lot of different ways to target our fan base, and a lot of different audience is coming in and out of our doors. A lot of ways to get a hold of them.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Damar. And we will certainly be jumping in a little bit of time to how one takes this data and actually uses it to do better targeting and to make one's campaign a little bit more precise moving forward. Justin, obviously you have an e-commerce remit as well, so I'm guessing that there will be some similarities in terms of the things that you're looking at. Is that the case, or are there different metrics that you find particularly important over at Geriatric?
Yeah, I think we have a nice mix of things that we look at, similar to what Rob and Damar had said, but the biggest thing for us is that we've spent a lot of time breaking our customer groups out into different personas, and Rob had mentioned how everything's kind of shifting to this data-driven model, and the creativity piece is kind of taking a back seat. And I do believe that that is the case as well, and I think what we're trying to do here is to still keep the creative aspect of marketing and advertising in the forefront, but also use data to see how exactly it's working. So for us, we have different personas based upon the buyers we have on our website. So for example, we might have one hospital where a nurse does all of the buying, where another hospital might have an administrator or someone with a more office type of background. So what we look to do with our marketing is to focus it on those different persona types, have the same type of products that are in there, but slightly change the content so that it's appropriate to whoever's going to be receiving it. And then the way that we measure this is based upon how these different personas are then interacting with the products or services we're promoting after. So if we're promoting, a certain type of allergy medicine, is that persona going back to our website and searching for that product? Are the click-through rates on the email campaign that we're sending out, high for that specific persona type? And then we can track and see, okay, we know that this type of ad might have worked a little bit better rather than this other one that maybe didn't have the quite same effect. So that's a big one for us. And then the other piece from an overall standpoint, I think one of the best ways that we try to track how well our overall brand is doing is the number of entrances to our website through people searching through our company name on Google. So how many referral sources or how many organic searches in Google are coming up with the term Geriatric Medical, and we track that, and we can see how is our overall brand state doing over time as we kind of see if those searches are increasing or decreasing. If they're going up, we know that more people are hearing about us and finding our website. So I think we really focus in on the personas, but we also try to make sure as well that our overall brand is kind of in the right place it needs to be too.
Okay, fantastic. And Justin, we've actually just had a follow-up question come in for you from Todd Allard. So thanks for the question, Todd. He asks, for the different personas that you talk about, how much trial and error do you find that you need to go through to figure out what best connects and drives the outcomes that you're looking for?
Well, it's quite a bit, actually, and a nice example of this is that a lot of the nurses that open the emails, or anyone with a clinical background, open them more often than not on a mobile device. They're not at a computer, they're around making rounds or seeing patients. So what we found is that when we made our mobile, or when we made our email campaigns mobile friendly and responsive, we saw that the open rate started to increase. So it's a lot of A/B testing and trial and error, but you have to do that in marketing, as we all know anyway. So once you find the right mix for your business, you'll be able to see, does it make sense? Put yourself in the shoes of the person you're targeting. If you're a nurse or you're someone with a clinical background and you're moving around, you're not going to open an email on your desktop. You know what I mean? You're going to open it on your mobile device. Or if you're sitting at your PC, it may not be as important. So for us, it was a little bit of trial and error. And it's trial and error too with the products that we promote as well. Just because we feel that a certain type of allergy medicine might be in the forefront of what our customers are looking for, it may not necessarily be there. So yeah, it is. I would say it totally is a lot of trial and error.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And Rob, another question for you from Jerome Alexander, which is touching on social actually, and how you use social media to drive events and other campaign-related engagements from your end users. Is social a big part of your role?
Like everybody on the phone here, social is central to everything we do. It's a very interesting asset set in that it seems to perform rather like search for us, in that it's a driven to rather. So if we're in print or we're on TV or we're elsewhere, we are driving to it. So we find it within the demand system, and so it's absolutely terrific for driving things like events. We're finding. I mean, it works within your demand system. It has struggled social, I believe, to pull people in for who are not already in your demand set. So if you're in the market for a printer, basically social works great. If you're in the printer business, it works great. And that's key to how we're seeing it. We see it much less used in select and buy type activities. People choosing what they're going to buy.
Okay, thank you. And Damar, obviously you've got a different product that you guys are pushing, but do you find the same sort of thing? Is that where social fits in your own marketing system?
Yeah, so I think social is a bit different for us because we have so many individual products, aka the players on our team. So I think we have a little bit more reach on a social front because of the fans' just overall sentiment with players specifically, as opposed to the overall brand. So that's something that we actually use to our benefit in using that to gain social reach, as well as getting getting the most out of our brand, using those popular faces and names to really drive our marketing messaging, as well as just that overall team brand. I don't think we have a large problem with awareness within our industry. So I think for us, it's mostly just capitalizing on all of the different ways that our social really does unlock a different fan for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And Justin, I want to come to you for our next question. And by the way, thank you to everyone for throwing in their questions so far. There are some fascinating things that we've already covered and that we will cover moving forward as well. But Justin, one of our scheduled programming, as it were, looking at moving from descriptive to predictive analytics. So what metrics do you use that you find are most helpful in predicting future success of your campaigns? What metrics are forward-looking and help you anticipate future developments for geriatric?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it would be great to read minds out there, but the predictive analytics piece has always been challenging for us, and we being on the B2B side of business, we service other businesses, so there's not as much end user focused type of models or analytics out there that we use. But for us, the big thing is watching metrics and trends that are going on within the industry that we serve. So we service a lot of clinical facilities, and there's a lot of regulatory things that come up. So from our standpoint, we want to make sure that we're ahead of the curve on some of the different areas that are kind of coming to the forefront. So a lot of it's around products and reimbursement in our space. So reimbursements are always getting cut. People are always looking for ways to kind of lower costs and get better about patient outcomes. The biggest thing in our industry is like a per patient day, which is a rate that's determined from the actual facility itself. It's kind of a key performance indicator that they have. So we look at those types of industry type metrics, and then we try to focus our marketing back around into products or services that are going to help our customers in those specific areas. But from a forward-looking standpoint, one of the biggest examples I think I can probably give is we are constantly in change in where we are. So, and I'm talking more from a product standpoint, because we are based in the northeast part of the country. We have a lot of different weather changes that occur, whether in the wintertime where it's super cold or in the summertime when it's really hot and humid. With that, patient health tends to deteriorate around those times based upon conditions. So what we will do is, if we know that it's going to be extremely warm or humid one weekend, or we know that an ice storm is coming in, or there's a flu epidemic going on, we'll promote different products and services that are based around that. So on our website now, one of our featured products is the Flonase allergy medicine that's there. Mm-hmm. We have some other respiratory products that are there as well, because we know those types of conditions are going to flare up. So we'll use weather as a forward or predictive analytic type of thing to incorporate products into on our site. And we found it to be pretty successful because a lot of the times our customers may not be buying those types of items from us. So it's a nice way to, one, say, hey, we do have these items and introduce them to it, but also get the sale on the product because they're going to need it anyway. So I'd say that's probably the best example I could give.
Okay, very interesting. Well done. And actually, Damar, given the sort of live nature of at least part of the offering from the 49ers, is weather something else you use? What other metrics are there that are forward-looking that you rely on?
Yeah, so actually one of the key initiatives that we're working on right now is developing a predictive analytics model for our all of our marketing or all of our surveys run through our marketing department. So anytime we have a post-game survey that goes out to our fans, which they receive every game, so all the attendees for every game receive a survey. So we're actually using that fan feedback in a model that we're using fan sentiment and just overall survey responses to understand, just from a customer service perspective, how we're doing and how we can overall affect our fan experience in the stadium based on those survey responses. And so we're pumping all of those text responses into our Night Bayes model and creating a fan sentiment model based on responses from that, and predicting future fan behavior based on win-loss, based on team performance, things like that, in-game attribution, so we can ultimately understand, based on a sales perspective, how the actual factors of the game impact in-game revenues as well as post-game revenues.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Damar. And Rob, how about you? Which are the most helpful forward-looking metrics over at HP?
So, I mean, to rechannel Kierkegaard, marketing can only be understood backwards. It's really easy to look backwards and see what you've got, but it must be lived forward. And that's our real challenge. So when we look at the metrics, I have different challenges. I'm sort of somewhat in awe of what Damar has there at 49ers. We look at some really high framework kind of metrics. We look at GDP growth. Printing tends to be tied to economic activity. We also look very tightly at what are we actually putting into the demand system. So this is a pretty established set of businesses. We know very clearly what our benchmarks are for creating demand. So we have great testing creative. We know that we're going to go into the season very strongly. If we don't, we start to look at heavying up media weights and things like that to get the same response rate out. But forward-looking on something like a consumer purchase or even a B2B purchase, a lot of what you're looking at is making informed decisions about what is changing in your data set. So you knew what the previous data set was like, and you've got to assume, are people buying more equipment online or less? Probably they're buying more, so you're going to do that shift. Are people using mobile more or less? And you've got to, as marketers, you have to make that forward-looking decision saying, this is the way I believe the world is going to be. Data only gets you so far. You have to be making that informed, intelligent decision about what is going to change in the data set. Otherwise, you just repeat everything you already have and you already know. And I'm just delighted to hear people using more predictive analytics. We're using it in media mix, but I'm not using it as yet in predicting, predictive behaviors of printer purchase as yet. That's an exciting boundary.
Great. Okay, thanks, Rob, and respect for the Kierkegaard shout out as well. It's not something I was necessarily expecting in a marketing webinar. And moving on to the next question, and this is actually coming from John Edgar through our Q&A function. So again, please do use that. And John was looking at I suppose how one responds. So how quickly are you guys actually able to act once you spot something interesting? in either your forward-looking or your backward-looking metrics, I suppose. And how have you sort of set up the team around you, and how do you communicate effectively internally to make sure that the company as a whole is able to react to the things that you guys are learning? So Damar, I'm going to come to you first. How do you approach that over at the 49ers?
So I think it starts for us with the level of reporting that we have going out to the specific audiences. So we have really 3 tiers of reporting. The first is the most granular at the analyst level. Very actionable, usable, insight-driven, granular numbers there. Then we have our second level of detail, which is more presented to the kind of manager level. Still some granularity, but not necessarily as much of the kind of nitty-gritty details, but still actionable from a manager standpoint. And then obviously we have that third higher level, which is just kind of the 5 numbers that our C-level and VPs really want to understand. So we have those dashboards and metrics prepared pretty much real time. We have our data warehouse sitting on top of our Tableau dashboards. So as those get updated in real time, anytime our CEOs or VPs have a question, they have access to that repository. And so I think it's just really about making it digestible for them to make actionable decisions on the fly. So we set up the framework, and then they just know to expect what numbers look like consistently over time, and I think that helps them to really obviously trust the data, as well as trusting their decision making behind that data.
Okay, and do you have any examples that you can share, and maybe you can't, of a time where those guys have looked and they've actually made a decision based on the data that has come up to them, and they've made it quickly, and it's made a change to the campaigns and the outreach that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so one of our biggest focuses right now is on our premium hospitality for this upcoming season, and so all of our CEOs and VPs are really focused around driving that inventory, and we have a dashboard set up right now that's really tracking one of our direct mailer campaigns, so they can see kind of real time how the campaign is performing, and based on our sort of tactical distribution of leads, we can actually push towards more the targeted audiences that are performing better compared to others in the campaign, and start to really make a dent in those those well-performing lead buckets.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Damar. And Justin, let's move to you next. Do you have any examples of times where you've spotted a trend, you've identified something meaningful from the attribution and the tracking that you're doing, and you've actually leveraged that? I mean, you've touched on a couple of these things already, but any other examples you'd like to bring to the table?
Yeah, so I mean, from a product standpoint, I think we kind of already talked about a few of them, and kind of how if we see trends moving, we'll change things around or push more products a certain area. But let's talk about from a customer standpoint. So, being in the B2B space, we're obviously competing against other distributors in our area, with the same customers. So one of the metrics that we track is disengagement, and we track disengagement from our customers on our website. So, for example, our sales reps and sales teams will get a notification if one of their accounts has been inactive either on our website or in general with us as a company. We're able to track those metrics. And what we do is when they get notified, they're instructed to reach out to the customer and say, hey, we noticed you haven't, bought anything recently, or, has something been going on? Is there anything we can help with? And a lot of the times it's attempting for us to be proactive with not using or not losing the customer to another competitor. So we're trying to be proactive, not retroactive. So we'll let our team know about that in hopes that they can kind of stop that customer from maybe going elsewhere. And really what we're looking to move towards is more of a connected commerce kind of portfolio where we're giving our sales reps the abilities to log into a portal and see the information and data about their customers to try to better service them. And that might look something like logging into a portal and seeing, you know, who's their best customer in this category and how can they mimic that customer's behaviors to other customers who may not be as strong. So I think we try to act very quickly, especially anytime it's coming down to our users or customers and when they might be disengaging with us. So I think that's our strong example.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And Rob, over to you. I mean, obviously, HP is an absolutely enormous company. How much have you guys done to be able to be, I suppose, agile in inverted commas and able to react as you spot these new trends? Hello, Rob.
The traditional, sorry,
oh, hey,
sorry, battling with my mute key, and the mute key's winning. So probably our biggest single decision has been to eviscerate our large campaign model. If you will, it's back to the future for marketing with a focus on direct customer response. Right? So we run a global operation. To give you a concrete example, we run a subscription service to printers called Instant Ink. We run that today without going through what we might think of as traditional large agency, big idea generation. And what we're doing is we have a set of creative hypotheses at the start of the program, and then we monitor responses on a day-to-day basis while we're out in market, tuning the creative, and that changes how we get our response rate. And it's not a data repository, it's not a analytics framework. What we're using is the power of bringing our people together and having them talk globally. Once a week, they get together and they respond on, they talk about what is working, what is not on those campaigns. And that is the biggest single change that we've made in allowing ourselves to be freed from necessarily having one creative framework that's very restrictive and moving into something which is driving the core of the business by focusing on our enrollments rate. So that's the biggest single change we've made, Nick. Hello? Hello?
Hello. Sorry, apologies, Rob. I did the exact same thing that you did and managed to have myself muted throughout that. I was asking a very interesting question, and I was going to ask you about data-driven marketing, which is something that you brought up at the outset, is something that is absolutely critical for future success, and it's something you've seen some significant upticks in performance as a result of focusing more and more on data within HP and within your marketing team. But is there a limit? I mean, to what extent is it healthy for marketers to be entirely data-driven? I think one of our other panelists mentioned, you know, the importance of balancing the two. And how do you find that balance at HP between data-driven and creative?
So it's very clear that the data focus is merely leveling the playing field. Everybody can get an analytics team. Everybody can get some kind of big data set going. Everybody can do that. And so to some extent, the old rules still apply. If you have a story that you need to tell in the marketplace and it distinguishes and differentiates yourself, that is as important as it ever was. The great news is, for those of us who are out competing every day in the marketplace, there's at least half of the marketing population still hasn't got the memo that there is data, right? I mean, you hear it from Dimar and Justin. These are the thought leaders of the future that say, hey, this can be packaged up, this can be put into data. So you're ahead of the pack. What we've seen, and we see it again and again, is the work that really exceeds every single internal benchmark we have. And we run hundreds of programs a year, right? The single distinguishing factor in the Marcom is when you have a culturally disruptive theme that you are pursuing in your work. If you do a pure product ad or a pure emotion ad, they will never perform as well as something like Dove's campaign for Real Beauty. If you can talk to your customer, your target, about a higher level issue that is culturally disruptive, that makes a difference. So to your point, data gets you ahead of the pack. That's merely a level set. Getting to the next level, understanding what is important and meaningful to your target, that is as important as it ever was. I think the fundamentals will never change. Data gets you so far. Brilliance and perfection, that comes from this understanding your customer at the next level of depth.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Rob. And Damar, over to you. I mean, in terms of the data that you guys are looking at on a daily basis, are there times where you've intentionally disregarded things that the data is showing you because it really tally with either the overall 49ers message and brand? Are there times where you've looked at data and you've gone, it's going to be too risky to act on this, we're going to leave it to one side, or again, do you guys sort of slavishly follow what the data is saying and you make changes based on what you're seeing in front of you?
So I think for us, it's a combination of both of those. We try to keep a level head because we understand a lot of the overall kind of buzz and interest in our team solely revolves around sort of the product on the field, which is wins and losses. So we try not to make a lot of our decisions kind of based upon wins and losses because it's hard to control that. So with us having a down year this past season and realizing that our sales numbers and retail numbers and things like that did take a bit of a hit, we don't want to try to reinvent the wheel simply because the data says we should, based on wins and losses. So what we're doing is trying to just stay ahead of the overall trends and not try to I guess freak out too much about a dip in the numbers data wise because overall our brand is a strong one, and just because the product on the field is so tied to our overall success monetarily, we try not to make huge waves when we have a down year like that. So I think it's, like I said, a mixture of really understanding that it's a volatile marketplace, and we try to control for that the best we can.
Okay, thank you. And actually, we did have a question come in a little bit earlier, asking both about the impact of wins and losses and the team's progress on your role. And we actually had another one coming in as well, saying the LA Rams are obviously going to be moving into the area over the next few years. How much impact do you anticipate that having? Is that something that you can control for? How do you sort of manage things like that happening as well?
Yeah, so luckily the NFL does a really good job of kind of dividing the lines of kind of where you can market, where you cannot. So as far as kind of cannibalizing our business, we shouldn't see too much of effect there. But one thing that I don't know if you're aware of, but the closer team to us here in the Bay Area, the Oakland Raiders, we do keep an eye on everything that kind of goes along with their potential move and their potential renovations of their stadium, because that would open up a large market for us here within the Bay Area if that team was to get out of our way here in the Bay Area and open up a large fan base of fans that are really looking to fill that football need here in the Bay Area if their team was to vacate and go to Las Vegas or somewhere else in the States.
Sure. Okay, cool. Thank you, Damar. And Justin, one question for you. Rob touched on this earlier. He was talking about how something like Dove's campaign for Real Beauty has a huge impact on the success of a marketing campaign. Maybe in some instances it's going to dwarf the impact of a focus on data specifically. And a question came in from somebody in our audience as to whether that's really the same if you're working in a B2B space. I mean, how do you find the balance between creative and data in a B2B business like Geriatric?
Sure. So I mean, I agree with Rob. I mean, that campaign was massive. It's very similar to the TD thank you campaign that they ran last year or the year before. But from our standpoint in the B2B side, you know, from my standpoint and our point of view, even though people are working for another company and they're buying for a company, all of us are B2C consumers. We all buy things for ourselves. It just so happens that these people are in a job where they're buying for a company. So with that being said, we still want to make sure that the experience they're having is similar to what they're used to in their personal life. And that goes with the marketing and advertising that we do. But as Rob had said, we use data and analytics to figure out exactly who our customers are, what their age group is, their demographics, what they're interested in. And then we tailor our marketing around that to focus it back to them. And an example of this would be that our analytics show that 60% of our users are female. The age range is 25 to 35 years old. And they like watching certain types of reality TV shows, et cetera, et cetera. So from a B2B company, it's like, all right, well, how do you take that data and then make those people buy more medical products from you? So what we did is we started to look and say, okay, we know who our customer is. We know that they like what they're interested in, pop culture, these types of things. Why don't we make a marketing campaign that focuses around our employees and really tells their story? If people are watching reality television anyways, they might be more interested in a story of someone who works at our company that is already on that same mindset that they have with what they do in their personal life. And if we can get them connected and emotionally vested in that story, and it's something that they come back and look at, or they look for every time we release a new one, we've created that emotional connection with them. So half of our job is done. We just have to work on the other half of keeping it and making sure that they understand, you know, what our unique selling proposition is and what our key benefits are. So I would say from a B2B side, we kind of take a little bit of a B2C approach and apply it back to our users. But we definitely look, like Rob had mentioned, to use data to figure out who our customers are and then in what they're interested in, and then turn that into relevant marketing in material for them that feels a little more native as opposed to force-fed.
Okay, fantastic, cool. Well, thank you very much, Justin. And I'm afraid, regrettably, everybody, that is pretty much all the time that we have today. And so the first and most obvious thing to do is to make a huge thank you to Damar, to Rob, and to Justin for their time and for their insights over the course of today. And before everybody leaves to get their first or indeed their last copy of the day, depending on where you are, we will be sending out the recording of this webinar tomorrow. So no need to worry if you did miss any specific parts of the discussion. And for the numerous other questions that you may still have on marketing attribution, and indeed personalization, content, and storytelling, do bear in mind that you can get those questions answered in person at this year's Incite Marketing Summit East. And as mentioned, the event does bring together another 60 leading corporate speakers in senior marketing positions in major brands to join us in New York on October 27th and 28th. And you should be able to see on your screen now some of the brands that are going to be speaking and sharing their best practice at the summit. And unfortunately, the web address has been cut off the bottom of your screen there. Just so you know, that is www.incite-group.com/east. And we will also be sending through to you a link to download the summit brochure. If you scroll up the comment field, you should see one version of it. Otherwise, then you can simply go to bit.ly/Incite Marketing Summit Brochure WMA, and you should be able to get a brochure. We'll send a link for you when we send through the conference recordings as well. And thank you to all of you for your questions and for your attention throughout. And again, a huge thank you to our speakers. And I hope that every one of you has a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.